Hey folks, welcome back to Only Best Fancy Novels. My name is Rabin, and today I want to talk about The Many Deaths of the Black Company, the final omnibus of the series. Well, final as of the point of this recording. This just has books 8, Water Sleeps, and book 9, Soldiers Live in It. And for many years, this was the finale of the series. Like, this was the ending we had. Up until recently, when it was finally announced that the first in a new quartet was being published. Lies Weeping, and that's going to be out in another month or two, which is what triggered this reread for me. So, like, for the past 10 years, basically, this was the ending of the series as far as I knew, and that definitely has an impact in how I kind of think about the series. But anyway, first of all, I have to talk about the penultimate book in the series as of this point, which is Water Sleeps. And this picks up 15 years after the end of She is the Darkness, so quite a huge time skip here. And given the way that She is the Darkness ended, like, that's not really surprising how much time has passed. And as is typically the situation, it's almost cyclical how often it happens in these books. Once again, we find the Black Company reduced to a shadow of its former self, to the point where they're still very much in Taglios, but their aggressive actions towards the Protectorate and its de facto leader are little more than nuisance, little more than antagonism. There's no tangible, no feasible, or no major impact to their presence or resistance, you can say. So that's kind of the position we find them in. Greatly reduced, greatly underpowered, with a few members, a few key members from the original cast still present and accounted for. And as a result of that, as is typical with the Black Company books, we have like essentially new cast of characters that we have to follow. In particular, new analysts as usual. And this analyst is a very different person from any we've had to date. Like, first of all, it's a woman, and she has a unique position in the company in that she is both analyst and almost de facto interim captain. And why that's unique is because her personality, the type of person that she is she she's pretty good at organization administration. She's managed to keep the company going when there was no one else to take the reins, but at the same time she's not perfect. Like, she's flawed. She has gaps in her thoughts and her vision, and we see that come across in many ways in the actions that the Black Company take over the course of this novel. And this novel in particular is all about the attempt to leave Taglios and rescue the company from where the remainder of the company from where we last saw them at the end of She's the Darkness. And that's generally just the crux of this book. So because of that, like, it can actually read like a bit of a slow start. The first half in particular, we really just spend a lot of time re reacquainting ourselves with this new variant of the company, with who's left alive and what they've been doing, and just the new status of this world. Because this is very much a penultimate book in the sense of how it sets the stage for what moves forward. And for me, this book really drove home how just how enduring the Black Company is. Because at this point, like, it resembles nothing. Not even it doesn't even remotely look like the original band of the original squad that we were introduced to in the very first book. Like, it reminds me of that whole thing with TCS's ship, where one plank at a time gets removed until eventually are you dealing with the same ship or a whole new ship. That's the Black Company basically. By the time of this book, like, it gets you wondering, is this still the Black Company? But of course, they still have they still live up to the legacy, and certain things about them, like the loyalty and those kind of things, are still very much present, and that actually becomes the loyalty of the company in particular actually becomes it is practically the major theme of his book. Because, like, it's been 15 years, and there's no reason most reasonable people would give up a pursuit after that long with little to no progress. But that's not the company. Like, they're very determined to rescue their people who've been trapped. um, they do have some magical assistance here and there, but for the most part they're really flying blind. and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what you could expect in the first half of the book. The second half, it really begins to pick up as they begin to make their move, and the protectorate decides to attempts to foil them in many ways. And at that point, you get the typical company shenanigans with with the sleight of hand tactics and the back and forth and that sort of stuff. And not quite to the level of previous of the previous books, because once again, like, this is a very different version of the company. How they do things is a bit different, but at the same time, it really highlights the strengths of this particular interim captain. And one thing also to note is that by this book, the eighth book in the series, I'm not sure when this book was published, by the way, but every major character, every character of significance, every significant decision making character in this book is female at this point. And that in no way, shape, or form, like, that in no way, shape, or form affects the book. Like, this book just, it was just entertaining by the end of it. Like, even the slow start at the start, it didn't, like, I just went through it, and afterwards I just read through it, and when I was near to the end, I was like, wait. Then I realized how much slower the first half of the book was. So that's to tell you how readable it ultimately is. So all in, and like I said, at the end of the day, this is a penultimate book. It serves its purpose, which is to set the stage for the finale, and what the finale it is. Soldiers live. So, like I said, for many years, this was the finale of the Black Company, and in this one, a lot of major plot threads get wrapped up. The company is back to their full strength, or as we know them, their full strength. So many of the mysteries of this world get peeled back are peeled back or get peeled back by this point. So we know so much more about the promised homeland of the Black Company. We get final resolutions where it comes to just the various enemies they have on the loose against the Protectorate, against the Daughter of Night, and all of these things. Everything gets wrapped up in here. Or maybe wrapped up is not necessarily a good word, because the really cool thing that Glen Cook did with this particular book is that he gave us an ending that's not an ending. Like, do we get conclusions to many of the stories? Yes. Do we get hints and teases of what the ultimate fate of many of the characters are? Yes. Is that necessarily the end of the story for any of them? No, because they're all left in positions where the story can be easily continued. There's very much a conclusion. Like, you can easily see them, like, where we leave them at the end of this book. You can very easily see that, okay, this is the end of the road for them. But the door is open. And that's regarding who survives, by the way, because needless to say, like, the title of this omnibus is no joke. The many deaths of the Black Company. Like, over the course of these two books, so many people die. So many significant people die. That by the end of it, there's really, like, you'll be, when you stop and think about who's left alive that you in this book that you're reading compared to who started in the very first book, you're gonna be a bit surprised. If there's anyone left, I should say. If there's anyone left. So yeah, that title is no joke. Like, this final book is quite a few battle scenes, quite a few acts of treachery, of intrigue. There's some heartbreaking moments, because obviously there's a whole situation with surrounding the Daughter of Night and what happened with her. There's the conflict with Kina that needed to be wrapped up. And then there's just ultimately, like, the passing of the guard, because by the end of this book, the Black Company is nothing like what we saw in that first book. It's just drastically different, even more so than from the eighth book. The eighth book, there was at least the dregs of something from that of continuity. By the end of this book, no, there's in no way, shape, or form. At least that you could think of, based on who survives, at least. So, like, I think this book more than any other just kind of showcases just the enduring nature of the company. Like the company is almost alive and a thing in and of itself. It's not it's not about the people. Like the people are almost irrelevant at this point when it comes to the company. It's a thing alive on its own. And also there are some lines just the thing that really like blew my mind with this book in particular is that Glen will just casually slip in some lines here and there, that make you realize that get you thinking on how far back all of this was planned, because when you go back, when you think back to as far back as the third, fourth book in the series, when certain decisions were made and certain acts perpetuated and so, like, it just seemed logical at the time, given the thought processes of the people who you're reading. But then in this book, Glenn Cook gives you, it makes you think, what if it wasn't necessarily, what if there was something else to it? So, like this book, like I said, he does a good job of very much wrapping things up, but leaving the door also wide open for what else is to come. Which, given we have a new quartet coming, is all you need to know about that. But like this book was just marvelous from start to finish, in terms of the pacing, the action, the character work, and all of that. The like no character in here gets the arc that you think that you can expect of those who survive, at least I should say, because once again, so many people die, and yeah, like this book, it just reminded me of how much I enjoyed the series, how much I enjoyed reading the series, just how different this series is, and just how awesome it is, basically. Like these two books are for me. Now that I've finished my review of them, like when I think back on like the peaks of the series, these two books are definitely up there. Um, but yeah, honestly, I don't really want to talk anymore about this because it's very easy to slip into spoiler territory with it. It's just a bang of a finale. It's just like these two books are just absolutely relentless in the way that they in the story that they tell and the way that they wrap up everything. It doesn't even feel rushed. It just feels like, okay, the the company is at a certain point. It's time to deal with certain matters that have been dragged out for far too long, or needed to be dealt with, and that's kind of what happens here. So even though like so many things get wrapped up, it's not done in a rushed way. Far from it, actually, because time is even spent in this book developing new ties and new emotions and new characters, which is hilarious and also a bit sad because there's the whole situation surrounding the Daughter of Night, and there's the situation surrounding some of the newer members of the company, and just some jokes that some dry humor that's interjected between one of the characters and them, between the analysts in this final book and these new characters. And with each of those interactions, you can just, as much as they're amusing and these kind of things, and they add like a unique charm to the book, it's also a bit sad because it almost reads like that character trying to fill a hole, like, because that is one of the things about this book. Like in this book, this particular character is one who has been with the company from the very start, or from when we see them at least, and that person thinks back on their life and just the way it's gone, and the ups and downs, and the so many people lost, and the cost, the consequences of all these actions and all of that, and the bond that person is forming with some of these new characters. You can tell that it's not just him, it's not just him like building a relationship with new members of the it's almost like a hole he's trying to fill. That's how it reads. As much as it does have some very funny parts to it. So and it did start way back in the 8th book, I believe. But yeah, I think that honestly, I don't want to talk anymore at this point because it's very easy to slip into spoiler territory. So anyway, that's all I have to say about the many deaths of the Black Company, about Soldiers Live. Just a bang of a finale. A to top off a really good series. And now that I've done this, I'm gonna go binge through Port of Shadows. I decided to read them in publication order because I really wanted to see why Port of Shadows is disliked as heavily as it is. And then I can finally get to my Arc of Lies Weeping. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this book at this point. If you've made this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.